The most interesting guests. The coolest conversations. Keep watching episodes of the Grizzly Podcast, hosted by Irvin Scott. Follow the Grizzly Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more apps to have our episodes delivered right to your iPhone, Android, or any other device whenever they're released. Can't get enough of the Grizzly Podcast? Stay up to date with all our latest news, events, and behind-the-scenes footage by visiting grizzlypodcast.com.
So what does it mean to be on your Grizzly? It means hard work, dedication, and it means progress beyond your Grizzly. Hard work, dedication, and progress.
I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me.
Coming to you from the City of Angels, this is the Grizzly Podcast, hosted by Irvin Scott.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Grizzly Podcast. I am your host, Irvin Scott, and today I am joined by two special guests. They're actually real brothers and ufologists, best known for their exclusive show storming Area 51 on the Travel Channel. They've also recently appeared in Peacock's Unidentified with Demi Lovato. They've got a podcast known as the Probecast with the UFO Bros, which is currently available for streaming on all major podcast platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, my guests, Emmett and Joe Hayes, the UFO Bros. Woo!
That was the most hype intro we've ever had. Thanks. That was awesome.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Grizzly Podcast. You know, I figured it was only right to have you guys on the show because, you know, we've had some of the previous guests on the show that actually appeared on Unidentified with Demi Lovato, and that was Dallas Lovato. We had Matthew Scott Montgomery. So I figured, you know what? If I've had them on the show, I got to have the UFO Bros. It wouldn't be right without you guys. So thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Just so you know, Matthew and Dallas and Demi, too, they're all we love them to death.
And I'm sure you guys had a lot of fun just hanging out with them as well. And, you know, we'll get a chance to talk about all that. But before we get started, I just want to say it's so cool to have you guys because this is so different from me. I mean, I've had various guests on the show, as I mentioned, Dallas, Matthew Scott Montgomery, but I've never had something as interesting as what you guys do. I mean, you guys are obviously ufologists or alien enthusiasts. It's so different. It's so unique. And, you know, we want to just basically just share your story today, just talk about everything that you guys have experienced or, you know, things that you guys have, you know, just recently encountered. But we're going to get the story today. So, again, thank you guys so much for joining me. So with that being said, guys, let's take them back. Tell us how this whole journey came about. I know you're both from Northern Cali, right? So tell us how this whole thing got started. How did you develop an interest for UFOs and extraterrestrials?
First, I want to say thank you for giving a shout out to storming Area 51 on Discovery Plus and Unidentified with Demi Lovato on Peacock. But we also recently were on a Tubi special called Aliens, UFOs and Abduction, 75 Years of Roswell. And that's a Tubi special produced. So make sure you check it out. It's free. And we've got some other stuff coming out too later this year. But we'll keep you informed when we know more about that kind of stuff. So for us, and by the way, this is Emmett for those of you listening. It started really with two things. One, a haunted house in Elk Grove, California. When we were, I don't know, Joe, maybe 11 and 10 years old, there was a woman down the street, an older lady, and she had ghosts in her house. And so we were like, what? And she was like, I have the proof. You have proof that there's ghosts in your house? Like, what? So she showed us the proof. It was what she would do is when she would leave the house, she would set an audio tape on record and just record her house when she was gone. And you would not believe the sounds that we heard, the most terrifying sounds of drawers being open, rumbling of different sorts of like plastic and what sounded like forks and spoons flying out of drawers. And too bad it wasn't filmed, but I'll never forget that. And I think that ultimately is what really pulled us in. And then, our cousins knew we were into it and they would give us different books on it. I would go to the library at every chance I could get. Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, ghosts, time travelers, UFOs, aliens. But it was really the summer of the late 90s when Fox Channel aired Alien Autopsy Fact Fiction. For those of you who want to see it, it's on Tubi. It's free. And it's weird. There was just really quick a segment. There's some documents that come out between. They're called the Wilson documents, and in it, Kit Green, who is you'll have to forgive me. I don't know the specific background exactly to give the exact information, but in this document, he's talking about how the alien autopsy video is real. So anyway, I say that because it's coming back around the loop again, where people are starting to go, well, was that really fake footage? Maybe it was just a cover up. So we're kind of back into that wheelhouse again. But yeah, after seeing that, I think we were just mesmerized, inspired, terrified. But from that moment forward, every UFO documentary we could watch, every special on every channel, we've seen all of them, all the documentaries, all the good ones and all the bad ones. I think we've seen damn near everything Nick Pope has ever been in, and that guy's been in every
pretty much
UFO related. So
you made it your mission to basically travel across the country investigating unidentified aerial phenomenon sightings and crash sites as well, correct?
Pretty much what we did. We just got in the car and just decided, hey, let's just go see if we could find what we could find on our own. And that's exactly what we did. How far you dig is it just keeps going and going and going. And then you can't get out. And then all of a sudden you're consumed. And then it just becomes everything. It becomes part of your life. It becomes part of your lifestyle. And that's why me and Emmett still to this day, even in our 40s, are still digging.
How dare you? I'm 39, not 40. You can't put me in the 40s yet, bro. Like Joe was saying, we've been to Area 51, Roswell, Aurora, Texas, Aztec, New Mexico, Kingman, Arizona, Joshua Tree, some areas in Klamath, Oregon. The list goes on and on. Needles, California, which was probably the most recent UFO crash to date, which happened in 2008. And we actually explored that area and were able to find a piece of really weird metal that we are considering and leaning more towards the fact that it might actually be part of whatever crashed there.
Out of all the areas that you guys have actually visited, which one out of all those areas actually just seemed a little more, unique? And I'm sure they were all unique in their own way, but I mean, which one stood out the most?
For me, well, it depends on what Emmett. I don't know what Emmett, but mine was when we went to Roswell and we were just sitting there. All of a sudden, we had Wi-Fi signal. We could FaceTime anybody in the middle of nowhere. We just had Wi-Fi, and there was nobody around us, and it was the weirdest energy and the weirdest. It was just straight up insane. You could see the stars and like everything was so bright, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there and you got full Wi-Fi for the whole evening. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, for me, I would say that's definitely top one of the weirdest ones. Joe and I experienced that together. We don't even know whose Wi-Fi network or anything. It was just a bunch of numbers, and we were able to get on. So I wonder if that has something to do with the crash. Maybe people want to be able to get, internet access there for some reason. I don't know. But when Joe says out in the middle of nowhere, like literally it was a needle in a haystack to find that crash site. It took us all day to find it. For me, I think one of the most incredible and unique experiences was at Tujunga Canyon with Dallas, Matthew, and Demi. Because we didn't, even when we go to these sort of sky watches that we do, we never know what to expect. We see a lot of satellites, we see a lot of weird stuff. And if you do catch something like super unusual, there's a 9 out of 10 chance that the person next to you was looking somewhere else in the sky. So the chances of multiple people to see something at the same time is generally very low. Even on night watches with night vision technology, which is what we used on that. We'll call it a little expedition, because damn, that was an expedition. It's a really cool place. While we were out there and we were using the green laser light, green lasers, and which that's a whole other story as to why we use those and why night vision is important. But right there in the canyon, something lit up in the sky that we've seen before at Joshua Tree. And what it looks like is a tiny dot in the sky that grows very gently and quietly into a huge glowing orb. And the color, I'm telling you, it's like, the way I could describe it to people is like if somebody is grinding metal, you know, the sparks that come off of it. It's that kind of a glow. It's not like a light bulb glow. It's not like a reflection glow. It is a unique color. That night, we all saw it. Mm-hmm. We all saw it. As a matter of fact, Dallas had a bit of a emotional moment there because it was the first time she'd ever seen anything like that. And the cameras were able to capture a portion of it because there were multiple things happening in parts of the sky at the same time. But that for me was unique because it was almost like we were all there wanting it and like we got it. You know, we were all hoping something would happen, and out of the atmosphere, this little teeny tiny dot that looks like a star does the most amazing thing. So hope that answers your question.
Out of all these situations that you guys have gone through, you know, what sort of feeling do you get just coming out of those situations?
Well, I can't speak for Joe, but we've had several occasions where you get the chills, but it's the chills with an excited feeling, not the chills with a scary, I gotta run away feeling. Mm-hmm. But also realizing you've seen something that there's a good chance nobody you know has seen or will ever see. And that's because you are actively looking for it. While we're all looking at our phones and getting to soccer practice and all the stuff that, you know, people have to do throughout the day, nobody's really at the end of the day looking at the sky. And Joe and I tend to really do that. We go out and we look for hours. So I would say that would be like how it feels for me. What about you, Joe?
Well, coming out of it, it's more of like it's a shock. It's calming. It's energetic. It's still a feeling of unknown. Like I just saw something and I'm shocked, but did somebody else see it? And probably not. And no one's going to believe me. Did I see that or did I not just see that?
I don't even know if I believe what I just saw, let alone like, is anybody else going to believe me or did anybody else even see that? You're just kind of in a daze. You don't really know what to do with it. Yeah.
I know you guys have family. So what does your family got to say about all this? How do they respond to what you guys do? And do they ever feel themselves like just being around you or having having that type of energy around them? Does that kind of like bring fear onto them?
For me, no. What it does, it brings a lot of curiosity, a lot of comfort in a way, because they know that they can look to me knowing that, you know, nothing's going to happen to them. Just mostly it's curiosity and anything. They'll sit there and they'll do their own research and they'll go, oh, look at this video. What do you think of this? And I get asked probably 50,000 times a day and they love it. My parents are, you know, they have their own views on it. They're with us on it. You know, they believe us, but I don't think they've ever had an encounter. It's just kind of hard from just sitting in a living room forever. With everybody else in our family, they absolutely 100% believe us.
So they definitely support you is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Our parents, actually, it's funny, our sister too. She sends me so many UFO TikToks. And she's like, what do you think of this one? Or our mom will send one to me and she's like, look, doesn't that alien look real? Or my dad will be like, doesn't this alien look real? I'll be like, no, not at all. There's a lot of obstacles and a lot of landmines when you come into this topic and stuff. So I think that's my purpose in this family is debunker, I guess you could say. That's CGI, you know.
You know, you guys obviously do what you do, but at the same time, I know that you also inform other people all about all this, and not just with your television shows or your specials or anything like that, but you've also done it by speaking at various conferences and events. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've actually had the opportunity to, converse with, I don't even know how many different people about this topic. And a lot of people want to know about what they saw or share their story. And I think in a way, our presence and our approach, I always explain to everybody that, we're silly guys and we're silly together. And, we have our sort of brother banter that we have. And but we take this topic super seriously. And we get actually through our website so many different people who describe things that sound completely bonkers.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
And there's two parts to that. One is they feel like that they can share it with us, and the second part is that, we do follow up and we ask more questions. Sometimes that leads to just, the person stops replying for whatever reason. Maybe it's made up or they're lying or they're just seeking attention or they had a genuine paranormal experience. So, I think we're kind of that middle person that, is able to introduce people to this topic in a fun and a unique way.
And what's cool about all this is that not only do you have the support of your family, but obviously you have other people out there that kind of share the same interests. And the fact that you can talk to these people all about it is such a fascinating thing as well. So very cool to hear that you guys do all that. Have you guys ever been kicked out of any of these locations or these sites?
It's funny. This is true. I'm more willing to trespass than Joe, for sure. Joe's like, well, what's going to happen? I'm like, what are they going to do? Call the cops? It's going to take them an hour and a half to get out to where we are. Who cares? That'd be great. Be in the newspaper for being arrested trespassing.
For being annoying.
That would probably be why we get arrested. Hey, just real quick, Area 51 has tons of guards, so we wouldn't dare.
And speaking of Area 51, let's talk about how that show came about. Storming Area 51 on the Travel Channel, and it's also on Discovery Plus. Is that right?
Yes.
How did that whole thing come about? Tell us a little bit more about that show.
Joe and I had been in several TV development deals for years because we were working on some stuff, but we just so happened to be in the right place at the right time where we were pretty active and busy doing things, and we were planning on going to the Area 51 raid anyway. And, we're fairly well known in the TV circle because we've worked with a lot of different networks and a lot of different production companies. And it just happened that we were the right people to go to that place. It was a little crazy and offbeat and different. And that was a huge turn from what Travel Channel normally does, which is everything's very spooky and, everybody is on the edge of their seat. It can be more of a lean in feel. This was a little bit of a lean back feel. It was like, we're going to Area 51. It's going to be fun. And so, we got together with the production company, Anomaly Entertainment, and Mike and Matt. Hey, shout out to Mike and Matt over at Anomaly. And they, put together this incredible opportunity for us to go. And we interviewed like Rick Doty. For those of you who don't know, is one of the most famous UFO disinformation agents. Jeremy Corbell. Who doesn't know Jeremy Corbell, who's one of our really good friends? Yeah. He stars in that episode. We have people who are also, witnesses to UFOs in there. We also have an interview with Greg Agigian, who explains that the site... Yeah, he was a history professor at Penn State, and he explained to us that the history of that location has deep Native American ties of spirituality there. So it's interesting how Area 51 is in the place where indigenous people felt there were spirits or lights in that area. So that was an amazing connection. So that's essentially how it happened, man. And I'll tell you something really unique about that episode, that 1 hour special. It was from conception to filming to editing to premiering was something like 6 to 8 weeks.
This all led you to the docuseries for Peacock, which was Unidentified with Demi Lovato. You got a chance to work on that with Demi Lovato, Dallas Lovato, and Matthew Scott Montgomery. What was it like being a part of that show and getting a chance to work with them?
When this happened, it was really exciting. It was kind of unbelievable knowing that we're going to work with such, big name people. And I thought I might come into it kind of like starstruck, or I couldn't perform whatever I needed to do. But it was a great energy, because I feel like we were all on the same page when we got there. And we're all feeling the same kind of like wavelength. We all felt like one person. We all felt the same thing. We saw the same thing. Nothing felt weird. We're just all chilling, and it was like friends getting together and just hanging out, looking at the sky.
I have a unique perspective on this, which is about a year before, I had texted a friend, and I said, someday I'm going to work with Demi Lovato. I don't know when, I don't know how or why. And I was texting that friend because she was a huge Demi Lovato fan, and Demi had just recently announced their interest in UFOs. So that's what prompted me to text my friend, like, oh my gosh, I know you're a huge Demi fan, but did you know now Demi's in UFOs? And when we got the call, I knew immediately, because what networks do is they do, well, we have a show with a celebrity. It took them about 2-3 months to say that, yeah, it's Demi Lovato, but I knew the whole time. So I felt like it was just supposed to happen. I know that, sounds paranormal, but out of all the people, 2 brothers from Sacramento get the opportunity to work with somebody like Demi Lovato and share our theories with and our stories with. So Joe's totally right. It was almost like we were on the same wavelength, like we were just one person. We all had the same vibe. We were all about having fun. We were laughing a lot, making jokes, doing a little bit of dancing, keeping the energy up. And they were with us the whole way. And it just made it like nice, because Joe and I could just do our thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to just do our thing, and the cameras observed, and we just did what we did. And so that was also a really great thing about that show.
And we still talk to them till this day. We still message them, and they say, hey, I saw something today. And all the time. You
kind of like put it out to the universe, right, Emmett? Like you manifested in a sense, and it happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most amazingly bizarre coincidences or whatever. I have a screenshot of, the date and everything of when I did that, sent that text. It was just a feeling I had, for it to lead to, a phone call with a star who's into UFOs. I'm like, holy crap.
Right.
And I said that, and they couldn't even answer. Like, it's totally Demi Lovato, isn't it? I know who it is. Like, sorry, not sorry. Like, just have a fun with it.
And by the way, and did you get a chance to actually tell Demi this when you actually shot the show?
I didn't, but I've shared it with Dallas and Matthew.
What was her reaction like to all this?
I guess I manifested it. It just felt like a manifestation that I really believed in. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I just knew it was going to happen, so much so that I had to, like, email or text my friend that. And then it happened a year later. So, we wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
While doing the show, were there specific things that you guys can remember that just happened behind the camera?
It didn't get brought up on the show, but we had a little scene for it. Was Emmett, Dallas and Demi were using the flare infrared camera, and they were just using it and taking pictures, but something behind Demi was like a figure that was totally heated behind her, and because it was pitch
in the
black.
Sky.
Yeah.
What he's saying is we have a thermal image with Demi Lovato and something in the sky that looks like a UFO right behind him.
Yeah.
So just like Joe said, the thermal image is just something that could be explored in more depth. That would be cool.
Aliens, abductions, UFOs, Roswell, 75 years later. It's a project that currently is streaming on Tubi. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that was like?
So what we're doing is we're talking about Roswell and everything that happened at Roswell, and there's plenty of guests on there. They're great guests. They have incredible information that everybody should check out there on Tubi, including us.
UFOs, aliens, abductions. Roswell 75 years later. If you go to our website, realufobros.com, there's a trailer there and a link that'll take you straight to it. realufobros.com.
Just Google it. We're all over it.
Another thing I want to mention is your podcast or your probecast. Let's talk about the probecast with the UFO Bros. For those that are listening and watching right now that want to get more information about it. What would you describe that show as?
Yeah, the probecast is where we interview celebrity and notable people about UFOs, aliens, their experiences. We occasionally talk about our trips. We're very different from some of the other podcasts. All the other podcasts tend to cover the same thing and talk to the same people, and they're very up to date on all the news. We're a little bit more chill. We release just a few episodes, every quarter. We don't do them every week, but if you want to go on there and hear some really solid interviews with like Dallas Lovato, Nick Pope, Jeremy Corbell, Matthew, that's the place.
We even had Rick Doty on there, bro.
Oh yeah, and Rick Doty.
I seen that. Very cool. So, and it's available on all major podcast platforms. So if you want to give it a listen, make sure you guys support these guys. Other than that, Joe and Emmett, tell us a little bit more about what you got going on, what you're currently working on, basically.
We have something coming up that's going to be really unique and super fun this fall, probably October. I'll be able to announce more about that when I get the information and the go-ahead from the network. Once we know more, we'll be able to share that, but I don't think that the UFO Bros are going to slow down anytime soon. We seem to be getting more interest to do more projects. So
amazing. And, again, for anybody listening and watching right now, don't worry about it. Just because you weren't given much info right now doesn't mean that you won't find out anytime soon. You probably will, but the best way to do that is by connecting with them on social media. So Emmett and Joe, the best way to reach you and for our listeners and our viewers to get more information about everything going on in your world, where can they find you?
Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, at Real UFO Bros.
Emmett and Joe, thank you guys so much for being a part of the Grizzly Podcast. I appreciate you guys just coming on the show and sharing your journey with us. I know that the fans, the listeners, and the viewers here, they'll definitely get a kick out of just checking out everything that you guys got going on. And on top of that, I want to say one more thing here. Because we have people that are constantly on their grind, they're constantly on their hustle. This podcast basically represents them. And I feel like both of you embody what we do on this show. You're both two gentlemen that are constantly hustling. Even though you do something that you love, that in itself is a hustle. And it's a hustle that you do enjoy. So for our audience here, for our listeners and viewers, if you could share any advice as far as like pursuing your goals, pursuing your dreams, what would you say to these people?
Wow, that's a great question. Persistence. Even when you feel like it's not happening, even when you feel like not doing it, persistence. And here's another thing I just got to say is take it easy on yourself. Give you a chance to have a bad day if you have to have a bad day, but it doesn't mean it's all over with. So be kind to yourself and persist and reach out to people you think who would never talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Wonderful advice there. Joe, did you want to add anything else?
Persistence, passion, and perseverance. 3 Ps, I think. Just like he said, if you have the passion, I don't think it'll ever stop. Just like if you have a passion for art, for music, no matter how bad you're dealing, you're always going to be in it. You're always going to do it.
Yeah, wonderful advice, guys. Thank you guys so much for just, taking the time to talk about everything going on in your world.
This is definitely one of the more in-depth interviews we've been able to talk about what we do and why we do it and all that good stuff. So this has been fun.
With that being said, gentlemen, stay on your Grizzly.
All right. We will, man. Thank you so much for having us on.
Thanks for having us on, dude.
Take care, guys. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Get it pop. Let's get it.
Yo, that's what I'm talking about.
Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to the Grizzly Podcast YouTube channel to access full episodes, video clips, and more on YouTube. The most authentic podcast is online at grizzlypodcast.com and on all major podcast platforms. Guest appearances and real conversations that will push you to hustle. The Grizzly Podcast is now streaming.
Hi, and welcome to Trademark Expediters. Whether you need a trademark or copyright, we can help make the process easy and affordable. Protect your company name, logo, or slogan with the trademark. Protect your songs, books, photographs, and other creative works with a copyright. Complete our easy online questionnaire in 15 minutes or less. Clear pricing, no hidden fees. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Get started today. Learn more at trademarkexpediters.com or call one of our friendly specialists at 1-800-510-1082. Affordable, easy, expedited service. Trademark Expediters.
Yo, turn it up.
Hard work, dedication, and progress. Stay on your Grizzly.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out another Grizzly Podcast episode. We'll see you next time.